teaches you practical skills. And it's like what an isosceles triangle is, because it's not teaching me how to handle the girl at work who's treating me like ooh, that was too personal.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
Sorry. Hey y'all, it's me, Jewel. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for coming back. I sure do appreciate it. Regardless, make sure that you take the time to like this video and subscribe to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about being a postgraduate student, because your girl is done with school. We're going to talk money, girl. I will tell you about the debt that I took on. I said, yes, daddy government, I will pay you back the amount of money I borrowed plus some. Would not recommend to the friend. I'm going to tell you about careers. I started my career straight out of university. We can talk about that in more detail. We're going to be talking about postgraduate depression and anxiety, which I did not know was a thing, but let's converse. Let's converse about that a little bit. And then finally, we're going to be talking about moving out. And if there are any other topics you'd like me to talk about in the future, please let me know in the comments down below. And if I know enough about it, I'll talk about it. And if I don't, I won't. Very simple. In the 8 months that I have been graduated, I have found that adult life hits different. And so the educational system only teaches you really how to be an obedient student. And those skills are fine and good, I guess, until you become an adult in the adult world and you have like a career to go to, you got bills to pay. And that being an obedient student doesn't mean jack to anyone, not to me at least. I have found has not helped me very much. And I feel like not enough people really talk about that. You know, it's like school teaches you practical skills, and it's like what an isosceles triangle is, because it's not teaching me how to handle the girl at work who's treating me like ooh, that was too personal.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
Sorry. So part 1, debt. When you first graduate, 9 times out of 10, it feels like you're doing everything wrong, because adult life is just different than college life. It's different than student life. And then that feeling magnifies by 10,000 when you take the time to look at how much debt you've acquired over the course of the years that you've been in school. Personally, I took out debt for 4 years because I went to a 4-year university, right? And I didn't really take the time while I was in school to look at my debt, because I'm like, look, I already know it's not cute. I don't need to look at her. She don't need to look at me. There's no reason for me to upset myself. I'll worry about it when I graduate. And that's exactly what I did. And I kind of wish I didn't. Let me tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. I knew what interest was. I knew I had to pay back interest once I graduated school. I did not know that interest accumulates while you're in school. If I would have known that, I would have been paying back like at least a little bit while I was in school. I was unaware. So when I finally looked at my loans, I, hopped online to like fedloans.com. So it had the amount, and it's like you have your principal amount, your principal balance, which is like the actual money that you borrowed, and then you have the interest. And I was like, why is the interest like $1,000? I just graduated yesterday. Why I already owe these people interest? And it's because it's been accumulating over the past 4 years. Took out my first loan when I was a freshman, first semester, and they've been charging my ass ever since then. And who knew? Not I. Even though having debt sucks, and for me it can be very anxiety producing, please realize if you're an American, at least, almost everyone has debt, okay? Almost everyone has student loan debt. It might be in varying amounts and varying different degrees, but like it's normal. It's a part of being an American student. And if you don't have student loan debt, okay, cool, congratulations, but most of us are not in that boat. Most of us do have student loan debt, and it's okay. You'll pay it off. And if you don't, you die trying. So what? And so let's talk part 2, which is getting started on your career as soon as you graduate school, so you can start paying back those loans and interest that's just been stacking up behind your back. So fresh out of college, I got my first job. I was starting my career, and I was like, this is amazing. We're doing great, sweetie. If you want to watch a video about that, I go into more detail about the job that I got. I'll link it up above. But turns out working is hard. And what I mean by that, when I say working is hard, this is like, I'm specifically talking about my first job. Working is hard because you assume that once you get into the adult world and you start working with adults, people who are older than you, wiser than you, smarter than you, see those air quotes? They're for a reason. You find that a lot of adults are just children that grew physically. Not mentally, not emotionally, purely physically. And so that was the issue that I was facing at my first job. It was awful. It was terrible. So I ended up quitting. I quit. Let's just jump forward though, because I haven't done an update on this. I think it's the first time I'm admitting on my channel that I quit my first job. I got another job that paid more, had better benefits, was a much better work environment, and I'm still working there, and I'm pretty content with the job that I have now. But funny enough though, even though I appreciate and I like my job, I find that working is not for me. I don't like to work. That might sound lazy. I'm a Taurus, we're known for being lazy. So I find that working isn't for me. So we're still figuring that out. Subscribe to my channel so that I can just be a YouTuber and not have to go to work. I'd really appreciate that. Working, starting your career, working with other people who are in your field, it's so different from being a student. Like, I don't know how many times I can say that. It's just, yeah, it's just so different from being a student in terms of the way that you interact with people. Like, I feel like I'm lying all the time. It's like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, good. And it's like, no, I'm tired and I want to go home. In university, you can say that. At work, you say that and people are like, okay. Days are longer. Work days are a lot longer than being a student. Like, being a student, you might have like, what, 2-3 hours of like school a day, and then you study for the rest of the time. It's just the way that like your time block is like divvied up is very different. So that's a huge adjustment. Another thing that I found with working big girl job that's hard for me personally, I get very tired, you know, I'm a very tired girl. I'm a sleepy girl, I am. I can't just call off of work whenever I want to. You know, when you're in university, you can. You like on a Wednesday, you wake up like, oh God, I'm really not feeling physiology 200 today, so I'm just not gonna go. And you might get a little bit docked off of your attendance, like you get like what, like 3 absences a semester or something, or like you might miss some material, but for the most part there's nothing really at stake if you skip a class. And then you create your own schedule. When you go to work, you can't just wake up every couple of weeks and say, yeah, I'm just not gonna go, because you have more on the line. You keep doing that shit and you could get fired. Then who's gonna pay the bills now? And I think this can all lead us right on into part 3, which is postgraduate depression and anxiety. Postgraduate depression, anxiety is exactly what it sounds like. You graduate college and you have a little bit of depression, a little bit of anxiety from doing that whole process because it's a huge adjustment. And I think that a huge attribute to postgraduate depression and anxiety would be starting a new career and taking on debt. Parts 1 and 2 that we just talked about. Those are 2 very huge things. Those are 2 ginormous things that you have to deal with. My personal experience with postgraduate depression and anxiety, I don't know. I think it's been clouded by my regular depression and anxiety. So, but in terms of me graduating school and feeling anxious about graduating school, not so much. It was more so me feeling anxious about the career I was in and the field that I was in. Not too sure how I felt about that. Anxious about money, you know, I'm like, the salary, like my first job was like, the salary's like okay, but like I'm trying to move out, you know, I'm trying to like really start a life. What am I gonna do with this? You know, I understand I'm new, but what the fuck am I gonna do with this amount of money? And I think a huge thing that can combat, for me, that combat a lot of anxiety and little smidges of depression was finding a job that fit for me. Anxiety levels are a lot lower when it comes to working and money because I get paid more. Like, people say money can't buy happiness, but it sure can buy some peace of mind, like, let me tell you. Okay, so that was like the anxiety part. So the depression part, I don't think I've struggled with that because of graduating. Again, like, I'm mentally ill, so I think I just struggle with that on the regular basis. But something that is hard is not being with my friends. I went to school out of state, so it's not like if I went to school in state, like most people also went to school in states, like we all live in the same state. Like my 2 best friends from university live in 2 different states from me, you know, and like that's really hard because I'm used to being like, oh, I'm bored, let me go like go down the hall and knock on their door, or oh, like feeling a little bit weird, like I need my girls to hang out with. No, you can't do that anymore once, at least for me, once I'm out of university. So that is an adjustment. Like once you're used to having those people like at your fingertips for 4 years and then you don't anymore, that is really sad. I would try not to get in my feelings because my period's also on, so let me like stop right there. But I do genuinely miss my friends like a lot. I am not a therapist, but if you're dealing with post-grad depression or post-graduate anxiety, I feel, you know, this has no scientific backing, but I feel that it could be due to the fact that you are going through a huge adjustment right now. I made a whole video about adjustments and how we don't give ourselves enough time to like process adjustments. It'll be linked up above too. See? We don't give ourselves enough time to adjust to periods in our lives that require an adjustment period. Going from being a freaking student for the past 17 years of your life to working as an adult is a ginormous adjustment. And once I realized that I'm adjusting and I'm just not used to being in an adult working field, oh my gosh, a lot of the pressure was like really taken off of me. Part 4, the fun part that we talked about, which is moving out. So in the 8 months that I've been out of school, I've been able to move out of my parents' house. This is my new place. Can you see behind me? I love it. She's gorgeous. So I bought a condo actually. I don't rent. This is all mine in my name. We're all very proud of myself. If you want to watch a moving vlog, that'll be linked up above. The main part about moving out and why I saved this part for last is that for me, having my own space was so important, and I knew that. I've had many existential crises, many existential crises. I feel like crisis isn't meant to be plural because you shouldn't have that many in 8 months, but I've had a lot of them. And through it all, once I look around me and see this place that is like the place of my dreams, I have found that the debt that I took on for university, the time that I put into university, and the jobs that I've had, even though I don't really like to work, the point is they give me a paycheck at the end of the month. That's all I care about. It's all been worth it because being an adult hits differently, but it's worth it for me. So far, I like it. I love it. I'd rather be stressed about paying bills for a place that I love and for a place that I can call home in peace than being stressed about like turning in a 20-page research paper. Like, I'm over it. I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I finished. Don't think that once you graduate school, all of your stress goes away, everything's easy and downhill from there, because it's just a whole nother thing to adjust to. Like, if you're not worried about writing research papers, you're worried about writing reports for work, you know? So it's just different things that you have to worry about once you graduate school, different types of stressors, you know? But I think, personally as a person, would recommend to a friend. Graduating school has been great. It's been awful, but it's also been great at the same time. I prefer this life over student life. Okay, friends, that is it. That's all I have for this video. My personal experience. Sorry, that was really aggressive. But my personal experience from being 8 months post-grad, this is how I feel. If this is not how you feel, cool. I will see you guys next video. Have a great day, have a great week, and have a great life. My love. Okay, bye.